So, the 5 most important questions to ask when looking at houses in France. Whenever you're out and about with an estate agent or a notary or a private vendor looking at houses, you should actually have a question list set up for your actual needs. Obviously these questions can vary from people to people, everyone has their own particular needs, but there are 5 main questions you need to ask. The first one being, is the price inclusive of the fees or not? Obviously this will depend who you're seeing a house with, but if you're going with an agency, are the fees included? If you're going with a notary, are the fees included? Number 2 is how much are the notary's fees on top? In France we don't advertise with the notary's fees, legal fees on top, due to the fact under the French way of thinking is it's not definite how the actual purchaser will purchase the house, as in what legal setup will he use, and according to what legal setup he uses the fees can change, so we can't actually advertise those fees legally speaking. Saying that, probably about 90% of sales are standard, but anyhow, that's the way it goes. Number 3, is the sanitation up to spec? For a few years now, when you actually buy a house, the actual septic tank needs to be controlled. More and more communes are now bringing that in for the mains drainage as well. But anyhow, if it's the mains drainage, it's not too much of a worry because there's not a great deal, it's just a bit of pipe goes in which needs to be controlled. If it's a septic tank on the other side, well, average price for a whole new setup is about 10,000 euros. Saying that if you hit rocky ground or have unusual lie of the land, then it can be more. When a septic tank fails its control, it needs to be repaired. Obviously it's usually taken on by the buyer, as that's the way that the French system works, unless negotiated beforehand. But like I said, if it fails, it could be anything, just like an air vent needs adding, and that might be 100, 200 euros work, if that. But it could also be a full-blown septic tank. So when we see a house which actually a septic tank hasn't passed it, unless we can see the reason why, if it's a new septic tank, we just budget 10,000 euros into the calculation. Quite often you'll be getting under 10,000. Now and again you might be possibly a bit over, but that should give a ballpark figure. The 4th question to ask is, does it have a full up-to-date, what they call diagnostic or survey of the property? Not just a DPE. Most of the older houses will need at least a lead paint test, an asbestos test, electrical insulation test, as well as a DPE. Some might need some of the other tests as well, but like I said, check if it has a full survey or just a DPE. You only need a DPE to market it in France, but you need the full file to sell it. But that will give you a very good idea of the condition of the house. And the 5th main question you need to know is, which it's not a very, let's say, legal question, is actually ask if there's any problems with the neighbours. 9 times out of 10 there won't be, but unfortunately when you do get one, they can be a bit of a pain. So ask that question as well. As for things happening in the neighbourhood, for example, they might be building a big supermarket around the corner or whatever, the notary will find that out for you in the local searches, so you don't need to actually ask that, you will be covered for that. When you go into a house purchase, you sign a compromise. If it turns out, I don't know, let's say there's a road being built or factory or whatever, which can depreciate the value, you will have the chance to pull out of the sale if you don't wish to proceed. So there you go, the 5 main questions you need to ask when looking at houses. Hope this helps. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button, and I'll speak to you soon.